So the other things that I want to talk about, just some other suggestions. Remember, this is building your toolkit. Here are some of the other ideas that we came up with or that we'd implemented that made sense to us. We often felt, especially in a company that was young and we needed to have cross-training, we felt that internal staff exchanges, having somebody who worked on the sales team, putting him in operations for 6 months gave him a much greater appreciation for the challenges that he brought back when he brought a new product concept to the actual implementation and the manufacture of that product. And a lot of people were just interested in terms of their own personal development and also shadowing, having people from one department shadow another person for a few weeks so they had a better appreciation of what the quality control process was. The other thing that we thought was really important to make sure our staff understood what the customer and what the market was like is we would often take 1 or 2 employees who weren't in the sales team to a trade show. And the natural health product trade shows were a sight to see. Typically they were held in Anaheim, and they were huge, right across the street from Disney World, and that was an appropriate location for those. But the reality was by taking, say, somebody that worked in our operation in our shop floor, to take them out there and see all the products and the customers that they were up against and the challenges, it gave them a much greater appreciation for the business that they were in. And it also connected everybody to the market that we had. We also try to find ways to involve staff. And so one of the things we do is if we had a new product concept and we needed to get a name or a trademark for that product, we would have a contest and have staff contribute names. One of our favorite ones is one of our scientists had developed a formulation of all natural ingredients for a premenstrual supplement, premenstrual syndrome, PMS product. And some of the best names came from the women, staff employees who actually contributed names to the product idea. We didn't use any of them, but we had fun. We had fun reviewing the creative ideas that came out from some of our staff. One of the names was Husband Saver. Another one was Bitch Buster. And this came from the women. It didn't come from the men. And in fact, we had a clinical study done at the university, and one of our marketing tools was a letter we had from one of the husbands of the women who had taken this product during the clinical trial. And his biggest concern was, how am I going to get this product now that the clinical trial is over? And he wrote that letter, so we used it as part of our marketing campaign. We also believed that there was real merit in participating in programs and award programs like SAVEX and AVEX. And it gave the staff, and whenever we would be a nominee for an award, we would allow any staff, we'd pay for any staff to attend. Again, it gave them a much greater sense of ownership and appreciation, but a sense of pride in what we did. And in fact, the year we won Business of the Year, we had something like 4 or 5 tables, and we didn't know we were going to win it until it was announced. And it was almost like the Rough Rider game when we did the cheers that went up. So I think that that's a critical part of that. Now, before we talk about performance, I want to talk a little bit more about leadership, and this is again the Toyota way. One of the things that I discovered is that our boss came from a sales background, and he didn't appreciate or understand our processing plant and the operations side of it. He would just put in an order and just think that the product would miraculously appear at the end, and that would be the end of it. And so there was a lot of animosity building, and again, like was suggested by the Toyota way, I suggested to him that he come with me one day, and we put on our blue jeans and we went out to the plant and we spent a day there. We were shoveling flaxseed and cleaning product, off the floor that was spilt during the process, washing the walls, cleaning off the equipment, and he gained a much greater appreciation of what the staff was, but I think also the morale boost that it gave the people out at the plant who were located in Asquith, 25 miles out of the city, and there was a real we and they culture that was starting to form. And so by having the president come out there and spend a day in his blue jeans, rolling up his sleeves, was a huge plus for them and their commitment to the organization. The other thing that the executive team did that I thought was exemplar in terms of sending a message to their employees, at 9/11, our sales literally stopped into the United States for a couple of months. And so we had to lay off our plant, some of our staff. And one of the members of the executive team, it wasn't me, so I can't take credit for this. I'm a little too cheap. But one of the executive members says, why don't we take some of our salary and subsidize the people who are now on unemployment insurance so that they don't, it was just before Christmas, so that they don't lose any of their salary. So we basically took the hat around and each executive wrote out a check, and we used it to supplement the salaries of our plant employees who were laid off. So I think those kinds of leadership examples are absolutely critical. And again, it goes back to the message of Gemba. There's the Japanese word we didn't know that we were doing, but you have to get out there and actually understand what your company is all about and the problems that staff encounter. One of the other things we insisted is one of the first standard operating procedures we had was writing a hiring procedure. So there was actually a process for what we would follow when we hired an employee. And the last step of that was an interview with the president. And the president would go over the corporate values. And basically was, but every new employee got to meet the president. And the president's key message were, what are the corporate values? What is our vision? And our vision was all about innovation. We were going to be the primary solution provider for companies in the natural health products industry who were looking for essential fatty acid solutions. So that was our vision for innovation, and it permeated everything we did. But it took us many years to get there. So the last area that I think the study that we did with Brooke Dobney pointed out is the connection between innovation and your innovation plan and the performance management system. You got to make that connection. If you really value innovation, then you got to put your money where your mouth is. And good behavior that goes unrewarded or unrecognized will eventually start to diminish. That's been demonstrated time and time again. And so we implemented some programs. We had a profit-sharing plan, and it was based on increase in sales or sales targets and also profitability. The other thing we did to encourage innovation was to have a target for what percentage of our total sales would come from new products. That's one measurement of how successful you were. It was good to generate a bunch of ideas, but to actually translate them into sales so that maybe 20% of your total annual sales came from products that you weren't producing the year before was a good metric. And that was one of the things that we did. We also built our bonus plan into 3 different levels. There was a corporate bonus, there was a team bonus, and there was an individual bonus. So you recognize performance at all levels. And the beauty of this is if you felt we wanted to put more emphasis on team performance, we could balance or weight the team bonus to be the biggest portion of that bonus for that year. Or if we said we're all focused on corporate results, it's not about the individual, there's no I in team, we could just put it all on the corporate bonus. But every Friday, we would provide all of our staff with an update on how we were doing relative to our corporate goals. And you want to believe that they were focused on those outcomes? They knew they had a vested interest, and everybody understood how we were doing. In fact, there's a story. We had a fella, and this is a friend of Greg Coughlin's and mine, who ran an auto body shop in Saskatoon, and one of the community service things he did was to go around the community promoting a concept called the game of work. And he brought interesting ideas, innovative ideas into the operations of his auto body shop. And give you one example. One of the challenges they had was they had a problem with cans. They had to mix all their paint samples, and they were having a hard time finding enough cans, and they were spending quite a bit of money for what they were actually getting. So one of their employees had an idea, and they said, what if we get people from our employees to donate their cans from home that they're recycling and bring them into work? And then they took it one step further, and they said, we're now going to turn that into a contest, so we're going to keep track of who is contributing and bringing in the most cans. And they kept the chart up on the wall, and they kept track. And by the end of they had a fixed time. They had raised not only enough cans for their own use, so they weren't actually incurring that expense, but they were selling their excess cans to their competitors. So they were actually making money on an idea that was costing them big time in the past. And it was one way, but the staff would watch the charts on the wall like they check in on the score in the football game. And the whole idea of this game of work is what's critical. Why do people carry an 80-pound bag for several miles in 30-degree heat and pay somebody $80 a pleasure to do that? We call it golf. But if you asked your employees to do that, you know what they tell you to do with it. So, but why do people do that? Why will you spend $80 for the pleasure of carrying around an 80-pound bag? It's because you know what the purpose is. There's an outcome. The goal is well defined, and you always get frequent feedback on how you're doing. So not only do you know what the goal of the game is, but you also know how you're doing. And so implementing steps like that, wherever there's a clearly defined goal and an outcome, and there's regular reports on how we're doing relative to that goal, really keeps people focused. And we know from our organization it worked very well. That example I gave about those cans in the paint industry is an example of gain sharing, where they saved the company money, and the person who contributed the most cans would receive a prize. And it was a dinner for two with his wife, or a weekend away, I think is what they gave them. And of course, the other performance linkage that we made was we gave employee share options. And again, 1 year, instead of we were short on cash, but for meeting our targets, we gave people share options, and for 1 cent. And it really worked, but it also aligned their personal objectives. They were now owners, and I think that was mentioned earlier as well. They were now owners, and the sense of pride where they could say, I have shares in this company, was a critical part of the creating this culture and this commitment to the companies. And I guess my last comment is, I think in an innovative culture, communications is the key. You can never communicate too much with your customers, with your employees, across departments, vertical, horizontal, outside, inside. You can never do it too much, and also create many opportunities for having fun. We had a lot. Every time we had a success, we had an annual barbecue at our plant, and our plant operator was from Greece, and he would roast a pig and a lamb, and that became a corporate celebration. It was particularly fun one year when we were crushing hemp seeds, and they decided to burn the hemp meal. The residents of Asquith were the happiest I've ever seen them. So anyhow, that's an example of a company that actually had developed a set of toolkits. Maybe if we'd have taken Dr. Leiker's class, we would have got to where we wanted to be 2 or 3 years faster. So that's why these sessions like this are so important. You can get there, but it's so much easier if you have successful stories and gurus that you can follow that help you get there faster. So continue the good work, Steve and Curtis. We'll be there to support you. And good luck in your innovative challenges.